Welcome, folks, to another episode of our Warhirrim Wednesdays. Strider here. We've been away for a while, but we are here to bring you back some really cool news about the movie. So let me just introduce people who will be here with me tonight. We have Nikki. Hello.
I almost answered in Italian. Michael and everyone.
Italian works. There are a few people in Italy who follow us, so I think that works as well. Buonasera.
Buonasera.
That's good. That's good morning, isn't it?
No,
it's good evening. It's good evening. Yeah.
Buonasera is good evening.
Yeah.
Hen, hello.
Hi.
And welcome.
Yeah.
Always your enthusiasm. Yeah. V, hello. I'm happy you're here as well.
Hello, everyone. Happy to be here.
Yeah. Just maybe, I don't know if I'm yelling, but maybe you're a bit too quiet. So maybe just get closer to your mic.
I will try to speak a bit louder. I always forget when I don't wear my headphones.
So somewhere between this and the previous, that's the perfect volume. All right. Our dwarven friend Varking will not be joining us here, at least for the beginning of this episode. He went on a little ride to Aglaron Caves. You know how dwarves are. So we'll be focusing around other areas of Rohan. So in the previous episode, we have talked about some of the cast and crew that are behind this project, and we'll just pick up where we left off. So our first person of interest for tonight is, I hope I will pronounce this properly, is Mrs. Lorraine Ashbourne, aka Mrs. Serkis. So, Hen, what can you tell us about her?
It took me a moment to realize when I looked at the cast list, and then I was like, "All right, that's Andy Serkis's wife," because and I think it's quite poetic. I haven't seen a lot of her roles actually as an actress, but I think she had a cameo in King Kong. And I find it poetic because when Andy Serkis got the casting call for they want to see you for what was then a voice for Gollum, I think he only read The Hobbit. And he was like, what's this? And a while ago, I mean, Gollum is in The Hobbit, but he was like, what's this part? And then Lorraine is a big fan of the book, and she was like, oh, no, have my copy, have a look at it. So yeah, it's one of those cases like, Viggo Mortensen or somebody where their son or partner or whatever kind of badgered them into getting the role in a way. So, there's something poetic about that. Keeping it in the family, there's something nice about it, I think. And apart from Gaia Wise, who's playing the daughter of Helm, there are two actresses in this picture. One is Miss Ashbourne, the other is Janine Duvitsky, with whose work I'm also not very well acquainted. And my guess is that one of these two is playing Helm's sister, Hild. I mean, it's just, it
makes sense.
Yeah, it just makes sense. So that'd be pretty cool.
All right, let's go to Nikki. How do you react to this type of casting?
Honestly, I don't have any form of relationship to Lorraine. Like, I don't know what she sounds like. I don't even know what she looks like. Of course, I know Andy, and I'm guessing she would be super talented and probably well suited for the show, or the movie. So I'm excited for that, but I don't really know what to expect because I have I have nothing to compare it to.
I think the value of it for us at this point is really symbolic more than anything, but it's still cool.
Yeah, they have a tendency of doing that in these productions. I noticed that it's a lot of connections. It's a lot of people they know, family members in the family. And even though they're different directors, it seems like it's a recurring theme for Tolkien, or productions that involve Tolkien's stories. So it's not surprising, and it's very cool that they can do that and that they're able to do that, because on many productions you're not. But I think also, like, she wouldn't have just been given this part. She would have had to audition in some way, probably do some readings. And so they would have made an informed choice, regardless of who she knows or what she's done before.
Yeah, I agree.
Fair enough. And speaking of familiar feelings and faces, we have John Howe, Alan Lee, Sir Richard Taylor, and WETA Workshop.
They're all doing concept art, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
V, how do you feel about this? Like getting these all of these names back into the game?
I mean, we are all very familiar with their work and how all of these people have been involved, like in most of the Tolkien community, like in projects, probably Tolkien projects that have been going on. Even like in Rings of Power, if I remember correctly, we've seen
John Howe, yes.
Yeah, John Howe and WETA doing some prosthetics and weapons and stuff like that.
Yeah, I actually looked on that just a couple of days ago. WETA did all the weapons that you see in the first 2 episodes, and all the prosthetics that you see in all the 8 episodes. So, it's something, but it's less, presumably, than the work on this.
It gives a consistency, like, throughout the fandom, how you see and you get things presented to you to have people work in all this.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think John Howe worked on this between seasons of Rings of Power, so he had a bit of off time after season 1. He worked on this. He also worked on the Hobbit halls that they're making for Hobbiton. So he's a busy guy recently. But yeah, and actually the picture that we're looking at is a good sequitur because it's credited to WETA, I think, and it looks very John Howe to me.
I guess all these people also have learned to work with each other, so we know they can work well together. So it's always like a good indicator to see people going again back to those collaborations and working again on projects together, because they will have a good result because they work well together.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, fair enough. I also agree with all that. I think it's cool that we have all these people back, especially regarding the visual aspect of it, because it is kind of happening in the same universe as the movies. So I'm just looking forward to. I'm just looking forward to just seeing those Rohirrim armor and swords and flags and just running around in the wind or in the battles and all that, and to see like those specific ones from the movies just translated into animation.
And there's a lot, like, and we know by now, so Edoras is back, Helm's Deep is certainly back, Isengard is back, Dunharrow should be back. We haven't heard about it, but it is part of the story, so there's a lot of like visuals that you should be able to remember in it, and I'm assuming like bits of countryside, like in the picture that we have on the screen as well.
One thing that I'm sure it will come back is what's the word that for in English, the mounds with the graves.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Of the kings, because that's what happens. The new line of kings starts basically the line of kings that ends with Theoden's son starts at the end of this movie. So
starts with Frealaf, who's a character in this.
Yeah,
that'd be really cool.
I think we're going to see this, and I'm hoping it's going to be looking as nice, as close as possible to the movies, because I think that's going to be a really cool, but very kind of like in a background connection. Like maybe not everybody will pick up on it, but it's going to be there, and it's really cool because that's the line that we will see. We will see the start of the line that we see, also how it ends with Theodred's.
I have a lot of thoughts on the visual aspects of it touches and stuff, like will Helm be wearing the same kind of regalia in battle as Theoden did? I mean, it makes sense, for them to have the same armor, the same gear. Maybe even use what's Helm's Theoden's sword? No, will Helm use the hammer, but still, or maybe Frealaf does. Helgrim, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of chances for really cool visual connections to be drawn here. I think it's really, it could be very promising, I think.
Yeah, similar to, if you see the Hobbit movies, and then you just Bilbo is walking around Rivendell, you can just see some cool things in the background.
Yeah,
but this will probably be a bit less on the nose, I guess. But we can maybe continue to the next one. So the next name that we would like to discuss with you is, I'm gonna again probably butcher it, Roisin
Carty.
All right, Roisin Carty. She is the dialect
Irish
coach.
Names.
Irish names, yeah, right. She is the dialect coach. So she has worked on The Lord of the Rings and also in The Hobbit.
Yes. They always had two dialect coaches. In The Lord of the Rings, it was Roisin and this guy who just died actually during the big COVID outbreak. What's his name? Andrew Jack. He's like a bit actor. You can see him, I think, in The Force Awakens or something, like as an actor on the scene. And then on The Hobbit, she worked with Leif McPherson, who's doing the dialect coaching for the Rings of Power now. So that's,
exactly.
Even though the two projects are demarcated from each other, they're separate. They do share some crew members. It's not a huge overlap, but it's there. Yeah. It's cool. And it does indicate that there will be presumably Old English in this again. And maybe some
we should hope so. Maybe we'll hear some songs perhaps being sang.
Oh, that'd be cool.
But Nikki, do you have maybe any insights on dialect coaching and all that, like how that could fit here, or maybe how challenging it would be perhaps to sing to get the songs into to get the songs performed for the movie, perhaps? How challenging would that be as a voice actor?
Well, I mean, dialect coaches are important because you want the pronunciation to be right. When it comes to the languages of Tolkien, there aren't that many dialect coaches that are both driven and knowledgeable in the language and also in how to coach actors into speaking. So I think you have a limited pool to choose from, but I'm very glad that they are choosing from that pool and not going ahead with something else, because these people have experience already in teaching actors how to pronounce, say, Elvish, and teaching actors how to speak based on previous movies. Now, with the songs, a lot of the songs were never put a melody to. They were just lyrics. So
we'll get to that, yeah.
They would, I think you wouldn't use a dialect coach for that. You would use a composer, musicians, adding the music and figuring out how the rhythm of the songs are going to go. But the pronunciation will come along with that. And the weird thing is, even if your pronunciation in English is terrible, when you sing, your pronunciation is usually a whole lot better, weirdly. At least for a lot of people. And I've noticed that because they will sing perfect English and then they will start speaking and it's some accent. It's I think they would have to start with learning the pronunciations of the words and then go into the singing part.
Yeah. She does do, though. I think, in The Lord of the Rings, there's a lot of singing on the soundtrack, and it's in usually, except for a few very small exceptions, in Tolkien languages. And I know that Roisin did she worked with the choruses and the soloists about it. So, after, you're right, though, the composer gives the note values of everything, the pitches, the rhythm. But then, to make the verbal sounds make sense, you would need a dialect coach.
So they would probably learn how to speak it first, and like the composer will make the tunes, but they would learn how to speak it, as in maybe a rhyme, pronunciation, get it proper. Like that's what we did when I sang in a choir as a teenager, and we had to learn Icelandic songs. We had no idea what we were singing, but we had to first learn how to speak the words, pronounce them, and then sing them.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. I sing in German sometimes, so yeah.
And he sings very, very epically. You could be in a background choir or in one of the Hobbit movies, and I would absolutely dig that. But actually, I think there's a story regarding Miranda Otto. I think she was actually very unsure of singing that song on Theodred's funeral.
I can look that up. That's interesting.
And then she actually pulled through, and I think the final result was amazing. And she probably had to consult the dialect coach and all that. But I mean, you two, Han and Nikki, you just put it well. I think you just explained it very well for the rest of us. I guess what brings a character singing on screen, what is it that brings it together? So the composer and also the dialect coach in this case, because it's also in another language.
Also, besides the Old English, there's a bit of Orcs in this, so maybe Orcish, but also I think much more importantly, the Dunlendings, I think they speak Gothic, I think. In the same sense that the Rohirrim's language is rendered by Tolkien as Old English.
Oh, okay.
My memory is the Dunlendings speak like Gothic, or so, like their language is rendered as Gothic. So possibly that as well. I'm looking forward to seeing much more of the Dunlendings. I think that's one of the, in the Two Towers they're a kind of non-entity. They're just they're there in a way, I guess, but they're not. Whereas here, they presumably will be very prominent, and hopefully, kind of more than just a mob.
So what would you like to hear, maybe, regarding the landings? Is there some aspect maybe of the culture, or what is it that you would like to see? Because as Hans just said, in the Two Towers, they have 1.5 scene, I guess. One is a crowd yelling, and the other is the leader, we will serve Saruman cutting, or it's maybe the same scene. And then we just see them burn the village. So what's something new that maybe you're looking forward to? Would you like to see them speak a new language?
A new language, I mean, I don't know how prominent of a role will they have in this movie. I'm unsure of it. What exactly, how closely they are connected and all that. Maybe if they give probably an origin story or some kind of origin story of the rivalry between Rohirrim and them. That will be very interesting to see, because we don't know. It was really easy for them to turn to the Rohirrim, and we have some more information on why they did
this is basically the start of the conflict, because the main villains will actually be the Dunlendings. So
yes,
this is how we actually see the rivalry come to pass. So
but
it's going to be interesting to see how.
But it is interesting. Your point is absolutely correct. That it's interesting to see if we'll get a history lesson as to why they dislike each other as much as they do. That'd be cool.
I think it's important to see a language, because or at least a different dialect, because that's an indication of a different culture to me.
Yes.
That's how you get the differentiation between people. It's usually language, religion, and some costumes that really make the difference between different peoples and all that stuff. So it will be really, really interesting interesting if we were able to hear something different as well, apart from seeing their political differences. So it dives a bit deeper to why conflicts like exist sometime, in my opinion. So we will have to wait and see, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's usually the clash of cultures, isn't it? And definitely the language of these two groups, even though by the time of the War of the Ring, they have been basically living right next to each other for centuries, for several centuries. The fact is that they are actually quite far away when it comes to kinship between. They're basically two different races of men, or like the sub races, because the Rohirrim are Northmen.
Yes.
Who come here, I don't know, like 100, 200 years before the start of this story, while the Dunlendings have been here for a while. And actually, if I remember the things correctly, they're kind of like even remnants of those Easterling tribes that show up towards the end of the Silmarillion and then make all sorts of trouble. So they're much more related to those than actually to the Rohirrim. They're basically two different branches. So it makes sense that even though while they're right next to each other, they should speak significantly different languages. So yeah. All right. We can then pass on to the final point of interest for this evening. Stephen Gallagher. This is the composer. So he has worked on some of the previous Jackson productions
as a sound editor.
As a sound editor. Yes, thank you. And he has composed some of the songs heard in the film, including Blunt the Knives and the two Goblin King songs. All of this info is, by the way, due to our boy Hen here. He is our lore master regarding the stuff behind the scenes. So yeah, we have the guy who created some of the more memorable songs from the Hobbit trilogy. So, Nikki, how do you feel about this? Are you expecting maybe like would you expect maybe some song that he might perhaps compose that would be maybe one of the on a sillier side, perhaps something to like lighten up the tension of the movie, because the movie will probably be very dark? Or do you just expect some epic stuff?
I think there will be many different sounds, many different tunes, because there will be we won't just see all the hard stuff. I'm guessing we will see a lot of soft moments, quiet moments, pain, sorrow, heartbreak. But it's good that they're working with someone who has knowledge and experience in the realm of Tolkien already, because the tunes that we've come to love and tie up to that magical realm of Middle Earth, it would feel weird if someone was to go far away from that. But in saying that, this movie is going to be in a completely different style and look, drawing wise. Like it's anime. It's going to be like they could go in a completely different direction, and it could work because of the style of the medium that they're using. So it has to go with that as well. And I think there would have to be a combination, maybe like Studio Ghibli is very fantastical and very beautiful, but they have these little quirky elements that you'd need for that type of medium as well. So I don't know if they'll choose to go in that direction. They have chosen someone who has been involved in earlier productions, but also hasn't been fully making all of them. All the songs. So it just signals to me that they want something different, but they also want someone who has knowledge and skill when it comes to creating a fantasy world such as this.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm just happy that lately I've been, thanks to this Rohirrim Wednesdays, thanks to these Rohirrim Wednesdays, I'm just happy that I've been hanging out with Nikki more on these records, because you always give such cool answers on these things. Like, seriously, that was
You
that was
think
great.
so? I feel
That's one of
I
the
feel
previous one
so
was like,
bad.
oh wow, yeah, that's gold. Cool.
I'm always tired when I'm on these because it's always late, and I always
me
feel like
too.
I know the least of the group. So it's kind of nice that you say that.
Okay, so when we post this, just tune in for this one and the last one, and you're gonna love it. I promise.
Thank you.
Yeah, but
All right.
yeah.
So yeah, just to add on to my not so deep comment from before. V, would you like to have some, maybe like to hear some Rohirrim drinking songs or something like that? Because that's what I'm hoping we get, because I think we're going to need
That'd be cool.
something to
Are
light
you
up the
reading my
tension.
mind? Like, I was actually, as Nikki was developing her ideas and stuff, and she was saying the different kind of music that we will probably hear. In my mind, I was like, we will get a tavern song or something that the Rohirrim sing in the tavern. And I'm like, because the composer, like, he composed Blend the Knives, which for me, it's like the ultimate drinking song in the whole Tolkien universe. I love this song. It was like, I knew it. I used to know it by heart in Greek, of course, not in English. And when I was like little, when I first read the book, and I loved so much what he did in the Hobbit movies with that song. Right, I really love the melody and how it smoothly transitioned and gave the vibe of what was exactly going on. So I'm really excited if we get a tavern song that it's going to be by this composer. I think he will do a brilliant job if we get that type of song. And I think it will be fitting for the Rohirrim, maybe like after a victory, like in Helm's Deep and something like that. And they are all there together having fun. And it will be a highlight for me.
Yeah, I for some reason imagine Helm as a roistering drinker, but maybe that's self-projection. I don't know.
I think actually, sadly, I think the movie might open actually with one of these, but then I don't know if they're going to actually end it like that, because I think the ending is going to be quite. So it would be cool if they can somehow go the full circle, maybe people, and show us maybe how people are recovering, perhaps from everything that has happened, but. I'm hoping the movie at least, opens with like just the lads and the lasses just chilling in the tavern, and just you kind of imagine the Rohirrim as like the fun, less brutal version of Vikings, and I think that's what the image in my brain.
I was thinking more like what opens like that. Traviata opens in like a party and stuff and ends in devastation, so that'd be cool.
Also, like in the movies, we had that scene in Rohan, I think, with Legolas and Gimli going against each other, like and the chanting in the back and stuff like that. So if we get a scene like this and with a song, or Merry a Pippin basically jumping with their pins around, it will be fun.
Yeah.
At least have something fun in this movie, because the rest will be war and destruction.
Yeah, and not to take away from the expertise of Mr. Stephen Gallagher, we've been talking about tavern songs, but there might be some more profound things to be heard in his soundtrack. So, Hen, do you want to comment maybe on potential of Howard Shore? And then we can maybe wrap up for tonight.
Yeah, the Howard Shore thing, people at Annecy attested hearing Howard Shore music. I spoke with a couple of people, and
can you just maybe people are not up to date. So what happened at Annecy? Can you just
people attest hearing Howard Shore music, nothing like specific, like
what
this
happened
track or that
at that place.
When they showed the
when they
trailer
showed
and
the
stuff.
reel,
Yeah.
they showed the reel, and people remembered hearing Howard Shore music. My feeling is that it's a temporary track. You always do that with a movie. You put on music that you already have on the movie as a kind of guideline for the composer. Here it should be more like this, and there it should be more like that, and using music that you already have.
Well, yeah, the sound when you make like they're not
It's
finished yet, are they? They're not
they're
like
not even
it's not
close.
that the sound, like the actual composed music and the mastering of the files is one of the last things that happen. Like they're
Yes,
adding that to what they're seeing on screen. Like that's how
yes.
they create the good moments. So
Yes. So my feeling is exactly for exactly that reason is that it's a temporary track, but can still be very significant because, I mean, here presumably there's a courtesy usually of asking the composer, but because it's Warner Brothers and Howard Shore's music is owned by Warner's music branch, Water Tower Music. So there's none of that kind of limitation about melodic material that has been placed on, for example, Bear McCreary, where he was like, "Oh, I can't use this. It's I'm legally prohibited from using it." Whereas here, and no such limitation is in place. So, and I know one of Howard Shore's associates, Doug Adams, who's also a composer and percussionist. I know that he's quite fond of Stephen, and he said that before they started The Hobbit, Stephen was telling him Doug has a very, very comprehensive book about the scoring of The Lord of the Rings. And so he said, "Oh, Stephen told me that he was reading through it." So that's a good sign. I think a good start for any composer who's working in this, field is to read that book.
Yeah.
and when you think about it, like Warner Brothers did Harry Potter, and they had several composers throughout the times, and they all used certain elements from the first one that just kept going, and then they went in different directions, but it was always recognizable to an extent. And seeing as this is Warner Brothers and they have the rights and the connections and all of that, it will be easier to use at least certain parts of the existing music. What would you call it? Like the existing music library.
Yeah, the existing like themes and stuff. You can copyright a tune if you really want to.
I mean, the Rohirrim themes are the Rohan themes are just so iconic that I think pretty much every fan going into this will be extremely disappointed if we don't get something out of it. Like I remember watching the remake of the Mortal Kombat movie. The first one is like my favorite trash movie of all time. I'm absolute trash, but I love it, and the theme song is very iconic. And then the moment in the remake where remake was absolutely awful, by the way. It was awful. It was just disappointment. But there's a moment at the end where you finally hear the theme song happening in this like final fight, and like those 5 to 10, 15 seconds were basically the peak of the movie because there's action and you hear this song, and then to hopefully maybe at this final hour where the victory of the Rohirrim happens, we hear the violin.
That'd be cool.
That would be that, like how can you top that?
That'd be really cool. That's the what movie really did that? There's a movie that Casino Royale did that, where you didn't hear the Bond theme ever until the end of the movie. Well, that was really cool.
Yeah, maybe they don't have to overuse it, but just to pick the right moment and then just to let it rip. Like,
you can just use music. Yeah, you can write music just also in the same style because what is the Rohan theme? It's basically just a Dorian scale. I mean,
just don't use the Hobbit theme. Or put Hobbits in there, please.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, let's leave them aside.
Yes.
Very out of
Okay.
place.
Yeah. So V, do you wanna share your thoughts on the music? Maybe like using the Rohan scores, and then maybe we can wrap up.
I mean, the violin will be pretty iconic, and there are various examples, I think, of like movies hinting back to their original themes, as Han mentioned. To me, only like some MCU movies come into mind, but that's my nerd side. I don't know what, like, outside of what I commented before, I don't think I have to add anything else. Like, I really need a tavern song to break the sorrow that we will have in this movie. Like, to smooth it out a bit and to cheer us up. So, because it also depends, like, a lot of people afterwards use the playlists. Like, if this is a playlist of full of sadness and sorrow and some epicness of the battle, you need something to break it a bit and put another feeling in as well. So I'm looking forward to it having a lot of elements. That's all I have to add, I think.
Fair enough. Well said. Hen, Nikki, any final comments? I think we've covered basically all 4 points for tonight quite well. Well, one more shout out to our friend dwarf Varking. Hopefully he'll be here for the next time. We are just
you know, dwarves, they're never there when you need them.
And then are wizards, you know, like they are sometimes just late to the party, you know. So hopefully he'll be here next time. We're just happy to be back. You know, breaking the internet with a really cool PR marketing campaign. You know, it takes away your resources, you know, clams and whatnot, silver ones or other kind. So yeah, it was great being here. Nikki, thank you for staying so late for us.
Oh, that's all right. Sorry for being so tired. I just came home from Italy today, so it's been a pleasure.
Amazing.
It's been a pleasure as always.
Pleasure is ours. V, thank you very much as well. You're in the same time zone as us. I mean, to be fair, we're all pretty close.
Yeah, we all are pretty.
You try to accommodate the dwarf in the other side of the planet, and you end up like being really late. But anyway, I mean,
we still love you, Viking.
We still love you, Viking.
We do love you, and we miss you. We wish you were here. But it was fun doing that, and honestly, actually, it pretty suits me because I like the nights. I don't have anything to do.
Yeah, me too.
It works really well for me. Till the next time, I guess.
Yeah. Hen, thank you for being here. Thank you for preparing the points for the evening.
Yeah.
And, you know, as always, giving us the behind the scenes stuff. Like, honestly, you are the expert I know of those things. So thank you for all of that. Yeah. Also super humble. All
and
right.
thank you to you, Strider.
Yeah, for hosting. Yeah. And wrangling the whole thing as well, because it was a bit of an effort.
Yeah, well, you know.
It's the holidays. We're still here for you guys.
Yeah, it's you know, it's the summer. Everybody's putting on the side, so it's cool to be back. So thank you all for being here. Thank you everybody for tuning in to listen to us discuss the War of the Rohirrim, and see you next time. Bye bye.
Yeah, bye bye.